Let's dive right in, honey buns. Let's get started with this first story about what just happened in California. First and foremost, I want to start off by saying I heavily support Medicare for all, universal health care. I've participated in marches to support that cause. I've been very vocal about that for quite some time. However, now even people like myself who do support universal health care are not too happy with something that Gavin Newsom just passed in California, which will start this year. To all my Cali peeps, what up? Let's get into it. California becomes the first state to offer health insurance to all undocumented immigrants. Yes, about 700,000 adults ages 26 and 49 will be eligible as of January 1st. So let's get into this story. Gavin Newsom is getting a lot of criticism for this. California will welcome the new year by becoming the first state to offer health insurance to all undocumented immigrants. Starting January 1st, all undocumented immigrants, regardless of age, will qualify for Medi-Cal, California's version of the federal Medicaid program for people with low incomes. Previously, undocumented immigrants were not qualified to receive comprehensive health insurance, but were allowed to receive emergency and pregnancy-related services under Medi-Cal as long as they met eligibility requirements, including income limits and California residency in 2014. Note this part here, the California residency part. Now I want to chime in just a second. So here's the problem. It was just about a year or two ago where CalCare was set to pass in the state of California. Now, from what I understood, they actually had the votes to pass CalCare, which would have been California's version of single payer healthcare for everyone in the state. And big money came in, and at the last minute, the California representatives decided not to vote on it at all because big money from Big Pharma came in. This would have given everyone health insurance in California. So what they ended up settling with is what they had previously, which is Medi-Cal, right? This is somewhat similar to what we have here in Massachusetts, which is called Mass Health. It's not given to everybody. You have to meet a certain income requirement to actually qualify for Mass Health. And I have to state that because some people have reached out to me and said, doesn't Massachusetts have single payer? No, we don't. We have Mass Health, and there are certain requirements that you have to meet in order to qualify for Mass Health. So obviously everyone doesn't get it. And I have actually known people that are in that in-between income bracket where their income is too low for them to actually pay for private health insurance, but their income is too high for them to qualify for Mass Health. So being in that group is really tough, right? So the problem here is that California had the opportunity and had all the votes to pass CalCare in the state of California for all the people. Again, that wouldn't have applied to undocumented immigrants because, again, even under Medi-Cal, they had to meet those eligibility requirements, right? So now the reason why some people are frustrated is because they're saying, once again, our politicians are willing to give benefits to undocumented immigrants, some people refer to them as migrants, that they weren't willing to give us, or that some of us had to jump through hoops just to actually get the paperwork and to qualify for. Let's continue. In 2015, undocumented children were able to join Medi-Cal under a bill signed by then Governor Jerry Brown. In 2019, Gavin Newsom signed into law an expansion of full scope Medi-Cal access for young adults ages 19 through 25, regardless of citizenship or immigration status. Access was then further expanded to allow older adults age 50 and older to receive full benefits, also regardless of immigration status. The final expansion going into effect January 1st will make approximately 700,000 undocumented residents between ages 26 and 49 eligible for full coverage. So the part where people are starting to push back again, like I told you, these types of programs like Medi-Cal, like Mass Health, it takes some people a long time to actually qualify and get approved for those programs, people who are citizens of the United States. But now it's like they're willing to give those same benefits, full healthcare benefits, to immigrants that have come to the United States that are undocumented when everybody else had to jump through hoops just to get the bare minimum. This goes back to something that we were talking about Tuesday night, how more people, especially Democrat voters in places like California, Illinois, and New York, are becoming more vocal about the fact that we have Democrat politicians. And I say Democrat because the Republican politicians aren't doing this, but Democrat politicians that are willing to give undocumented immigrants opportunities that the rest of us had to fight for or we didn't receive at all, right? Tuesday, I brought up the housing issue, how they're giving undocumented immigrants money for housing. They ain't giving us money for housing, right? Let's go on a little bit here. This historic investment speaks to California's commitment to healthcare as a human right, which I agree. I agree that healthcare is a human right. In California, we believe everyone deserves access to quality, affordable healthcare coverage, regardless of income or immigration status. So let's highlight immigration status, because this is the thing I got a question. When Bernie Sanders was running for president in 2020, one of the biggest criticisms that he received in reference to Medicare for All was, how are you going to pay for it? Right? Which I always said was BS. It's actually cheaper to have Medicare for All than it is to pay for private health insurance. But now it just seems like I don't see people asking Gavin Newsom those questions. And if we want to talk about people paying taxes in the state of California, are California citizens paying taxes to pay for this health care for undocumented immigrants? These are the kind of questions we have to ask. Again, my critique is not with the migrants. Again, like I said, you have to go back to the foreign policy issue, and we have to hold our government accountable for destroying those countries economically via sanctions, coups, etc. That's where it starts. But my problem is, it just seems like to me, when those of us who are already here, those of us who are American citizens, when we ask for these types of demands, when we ask for these types of benefits, we're told things like, how are you going to pay for it? Or we're told, no, get a job and earn it like everybody else did. But when it comes to people who are undocumented immigrants that have come into this country, it seems like they're willing to bend over backwards to help them. And that's the problem that I have. It goes on to say here, California's plan to expand coverage has not been without its detractors. The California Senate Republican caucus criticized the move in an analysis of the 2022-23 governor's budget. Medi-Cal is already strained by serving 14.6 million Californians. more than a third of the state's population. Adding 764,000 more individuals to the system will certainly exacerbate current provider access problems. So let's highlight this for just a second. 14.6 million Californians are on Medi-Cal. So what does that tell you, folks? Again, there's an income requirement you have to meet to qualify for Medi-Cal. That tells you what people are actually making in the state of California. 14.6 million Californians. And I want to read this piece right here. When we talk about the resources, it says studies have shown that undocumented immigrants use fewer healthcare resources than do non-immigrants. About 50% of undocumented immigrant adults in America report being uninsured, compared to just 8% of U.S. born citizens. And that is according to the health policy research nonprofit KFF. So obviously, if you're uninsured, of course, you're going to use less healthcare resources. And this goes for anyone that lives in this country. If you don't have health insurance, obviously, you're not going to use healthcare services as much because you have to pay out of pocket. When I didn't have health insurance for a while and I had to pay for my physical for a doctor's visit, $200 just to walk through the door. That didn't include the cost of the labs. So it just, if you don't have insurance to help cover the cost of some of those expenses, obviously you're going to use fewer healthcare resources. But if Gavin Newsom is giving them the full healthcare benefits under Medi-Cal, that percentage could change. And that's the point that I wanted to bring home there. Now, Gavin Newsom actually did respond to this. He was questioned about it recently. So I want you to hear what Gavin Newsom had to say.
And then kind of an off-topic question, but Governor, I know there's been some pushback recently on offering free health care to undocumented immigrants as it pertains to the state budget deficit. Are you eyeing a possible rollback of that expansion?
Well, we'll get that budget out there. No, I'm committed to it. I'm committed. I believe in universal health care. I believe it's a fundamental right. I'm proud of the fact the legislature embraced that vision and has been advancing since 2016 when we initiated as one of the first states to advance that effort. So it's well within our capacity to make that investment, and we made that commitment years ago, and we're going to fulfill that commitment. And by the way, one of our commitments as well, we created a new Office of Healthcare Affordability, was to drive down the costs of healthcare. That framework has just been established, and a big part of what this represents is the opportunity to drive down the costs, not just of healthcare more broadly, but particularly drug costs and breakthroughs as it relates to solving and curing things like cancer and other chronic diseases. And so this is all in line in that spirit and that zeitgeist.
Okay, so the volume on that is a little bit low. Apologies for that. But so he basically said that he believes in universal health care and that we should cut the cost of healthcare expenses. Now, before I get into what some people have said, because rapper 50 Cent actually responded about this. But before I get into that, one thing I want to bring to your attention is this. A couple of months ago, I actually interviewed a reparations activist on the show, Camilla. She's actually one of the people that's a part of the reparations task force in California, pushing like politicians there to help African-American descendants of slavery receive some type of reparations in California. She's been working on this for quite some time, right? Probably seen her on other shows as well. So, you know, very quickly, that was shut down very quickly. But the state can give health insurance to undocumented immigrants, but they won't give any type of reparations towards American descendants of slavery who are citizens. So let that sink in. Now, 50 Cent did issue a response. Rapper 50 Cent. 50 Cent these days is not in the club. 50 Cent said, find me in the healthcare system. He said 50 Cent doesn't understand why California is giving immigrants living illegally free health care. So let's go into this. And there's 50 Cent there. 50 Cent is like, I got 21 questions, he says. On Wednesday, 50 Cent shared a post on Instagram, which can be seen below, questioning Cali's new move to provide universal health care to its roughly 39 million residents, including the people who are living in the state illegally. In the post, 50 shared a screenshot of a news article on the topic. He captioned the post, "I don't understand this. This is going to cost $2.6 billion for taxpayers. They don't even give veterans health insurance. Ari Melber, call my phone now. Help me understand this shit. WTF," he added, tagging MSNBC journalist Ari Melber. So you'll see here, there's actually a screenshot of that post. So that's 50 Cent's Instagram account. And you'll see it said here, California becomes the first state to offer health insurance to illegal migrants. And there's 50 Cent's comment there. So he's just like, what the heck? And I can tell you a little bit about the veterans here because my dad's a vet. And I can tell you that the VA in this country is awful. I mean, I know from firsthand experience, my dad, it took him years for the VA to approve for my dad to have 100% disability. I'm talking years. And if it's not something like that, I'm talking about the soldiers that come back from these wars and they go to the VA to receive the type of assistance that they're told that they're going to get when they join the military. And the VA just pushes a lot of paperwork, delays things, doesn't help them with mental health the way that it should. That's why you see all these veterans out on the street. Think about that. I can't walk through one college area in this city without seeing veterans on the street. So he has a good point there. And it just makes you wonder. I don't know. Maybe Ari Melber will contact 50 Cent. Maybe 50 Cent will go on MSNBC and he'll talk about it. But we need to start talking about this because the thing is, what else needs to happen for our government and our politicians to realize that we cannot continue to be overlooked? Where's our health care? I told you on Tuesday that politicians in Chicago were giving $9,000 for rent to migrants that came into Chicago. Black Chicagoans were basically saying, like, you guys have never done anything for us. Where's our money for rent? So we got to pay attention to what's happening here. And again, I believe that this is all an effort to basically find a way to replace workers in this country. We've had a lot of strikes over the past year and a half. And I do feel that some of the politicians in this country are trying to find a way to have cheap labor. And they know that they can pay them less than what they're paying us. So don't be surprised. I saw a story the other day that said that they were trying to get undocumented immigrants to join the military because military recruitment is down. A lot of younger people, the Gen Z kids, they don't want to join the military. They're like, oh, hell no. No, 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 no. You're not sending me to go off and die in these wars. So they're trying to find a way to fill that gap. We got to pay attention, folks. Got to pay attention. Let's go to some of the comments here. Shout out to Kit from Hardlands Media. Guys, make sure you go over and support Hardlands Media. I know Kit is streaming on I think it's a second channel now. You guys know they've had issue with their main channel, but definitely make sure you go over and support them there. JB says, I'm fine with undocumented immigrants getting health care. My issue is that there's no universal health care for citizens who live here. So poor citizens who fall between the gaps are hung out to dry. Exactly. And that was the point that I was making about the people that fit into that income bracket where they don't make enough to pay for private insurance, but they don't make too little to actually qualify for Medi-Cal. Shout out to Eric, says politicians like Newsom are purposely trying to divide the people against the immigrants themselves who have no power. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for having this immigration discussion. You are welcome, Rick. Thank you, Money Making Bear. In California, the majority race is Latino. Many are immigrants. Whites are only 1/3 of the population. Many have lived in the U.S. and worked for years. I've never even been to California. And thank you for this one as well, Money Making Bear. Insurance companies aren't threatened by this. That is the deal. In California, hardly any white people. Have you been there lately? No, I have never been to California. So you are telling me, Mr. Money Making Bear, because I have never been there.